Hi again everyone, Mahmoud here from the Greenhouse Gas Reporting Program. In this video, I will be demonstrating how you can use the ECCC and Partners GHG reporting module in SWIM to report your CO2 capture, transport, injection, or storage expanded emissions data to Environment and Climate Change Canada. The CO2 capture, transport, injection, or storage, or otherwise known as CCTS screen, will be available if you have selected the CO2 capture, transport, injection, or storage activity from the Facility Activity screen. So from this screen, you can fulfill reporting requirements in Schedule 6 of the notice, depending on which of the CCTS activities are being undertaken at the facility. Please keep in mind that the system will log you out after 20 minutes of inactivity. So please make sure that you constantly save your data so that no data entered is lost by clicking on the Save Continue button at the bottom of the screen. It's always best to keep your information on hand while filling in your reports. So let's get started. For CO2 capture or CO2 transport system, clicking on the Add icon will display the following screen. From here, you can report the CO2 leakage emissions from equipment and infrastructure used, CO2 venting emissions from equipment and infrastructure used, and the associated methodologies. So here's a quick example of how you can fill in the screen. And once all relevant data is entered, click on Save. For CO2 long-term geological storage and enhanced fossil fuel recovery operation, clicking on the Add icon will display the following screen. So from here, you can report the CO2 leakage emissions from equipment and infrastructure used, CO2 venting emissions from equipment and infrastructure used, CO2 surface leakage emissions, and the associated methodologies. So here is an example of how you can fill in the screen. And once all relevant data is entered, click Save to return to the CCTS screen. If emissions are entered using the steps that were shown for any of the CCTS activities, then an activity details section will become available for each respective activity where this applies. So for example, we filled in emissions for CO2 capture, and here you can see a activity details section, which you can click on the Add icon. In the activity details screen, the activity from the drop-down menu that you are able to select will depend on which activity this screen is associated with. So this can either be CO2 capture, transport, injection, or storage. So select an activity. So you may then enter the value of CO2 in tons and the method used to determine that value along with the additional parameters related to that methodology. So let's go ahead and fill in a methodology and a value along with the associated parameters. So once all required fields have been completed, click Save to return to the CO2 capture, transport, injection, or storage screen. And again, we've filled in emissions for long-term geological storage. So an activity details section will become available. And once again, clicking on the Add icon will display the activity details screen. Please fill in this section. And once all relevant data is entered, click on Save to return to the CCTS screen. So once all relevant data has been completed and filled in for your CCTS activities at your facility, you may now click on Validate. And this will check to see if there are any issues or missing information. And then you will note a green check mark if there's no issues or missing information right beside the CCTS activity section on the left-hand menu. And you can then click on Save Continue to continue to the next screen. So next are the General Reporting Requirements screen, sections A, B, and C. Once you have completed your expanded screens for CCTS, the Load Activity Emissions into section A, B, and C button will appear at the top of section A as shown now. So select Load Activity Emissions into section A, B, and C to load information entered from the expanded screens into sections A, B, and C of the report. This will ensure that emission totals in section A, B, and C correspond to the information entered for the activities selected, which in this case was CCTS. This is an expected outcome. If for a particular reason a change in the total is required, it is highly recommended that the Load Activity Emissions into section A, B, and C option is still used, and then the specific emissions totals are adjusted as necessary. So let's go ahead and use this option. And click on Yes. And information from my expanded screens are now loaded into sections A, B, and C of my report. So from here, please complete the remaining screens for comments and confidentiality requests. After that is complete, you will be able to submit your report. If you require additional guidance on how to complete the remaining screens, please follow the guidance given in the General Reporting Requirements video, as you will be required to follow the exact same steps in order to submit your report. So this concludes the demonstration video for CO2 capture, transport, injection, or storage screen. Thank you all for watching.